Hey, welcome to Maximum Bat Speed. I want to do a video for you today on how to avoid overload. Overload is something that's very common, and if you have any video of your child, both baseball and softball, whether they're whatever sport they play, I can almost assure you that your child is probably doing it. It's very, very common, and there's a domino effect of things that happen when you get into overload. It adds extra frames to your swing. It creates a lot of function in your swing that's not very good. And also too, as you get to higher levels, you're going to start to struggle with timing and catching up to a lot of elite pitchers. So I want to do this video for you today that I believe will really help you. Now, this video again is called How to Avoid Getting into Overload. Now, what I'm going to show you here is something that you can pretty much buy at any Home Depot or Lowe's, wherever you go. And what you see here is this little stick right here, kind of little post. You can get this, like, again, you can just go to any place where you just stick it into the ground. Okay, just a long pole. You can get it 5 feet tall, 6 feet tall. Just stick it into the ground. And what I need you to do is pretty much put it right in front of your foot, okay? Not by your shoelace, but just put it like on the side of your foot, maybe 1 inch on the side, and put it maybe 1 inch in front of your foot, okay? So it's going to be to the side and to the front, okay? To the side and to the front, all right? And this is going to help your child a lot, or you as a player, to avoid getting into overload, okay? Now, what you want to do is put the stick down, and the reason you want to have it in front of your foot and 1 inch behind is because this is going to kind of give you a cue if you get into overload, all right? So watch what's going on over here with Mike Trout, okay? As he starts to get into his swing, he's at his setup pretty much, and as he starts to get into the apex of the gather, this is what elite players do, okay? And pretty much this is where he is at the apex of the gather. And basically the apex of the gather is where your body reaches a point where it now stops from moving back and now is ready to move forward. Now, what you see with the best players in the world is you're going to see that their hands are pretty much going to stop right here in this area here, meaning that if you go straight down, and I'll just go ahead and change the color here. If you go straight down, you're going to see that with most elite players, their hands will be pretty much directly right over the front of their back foot, okay? Directly in front of their back foot. There's a reason for it. This is going to help you, again, not to use your arms incorrectly, not to use your hands and elbows incorrectly. Another thing you're going to see at this stage of the swing with most players, you can see here with Mike Trout, that his back elbow is behind his hands, okay? This is pretty much what you're going to see in pretty much all elite players, okay? So again, when they get to their setup, okay, they're pretty much here, get their setup, they get it, they lift their front leg, they reach into the apex of the gather, their hands pretty much drop in this slot right here at the apex of the gather, where the hands will be directly pretty much right in front of their back foot. Now, the reason it's in front of their back foot is because there's not any pullback, anything going on. They're basically just letting their body just get ready to get into the load, okay? And again, the back elbow will be back here, and you'll see that the hands will drop pretty much right in front of the back foot, okay? Now, by having this little post right here, this is going to help you, okay, because it's going to be in front of your foot and it's going to be like 1 inch behind it. This will allow you to, if you do the gather incorrectly, okay, and you get into overload, your hands will bump in to the stick, okay, because if you have an elite pullback, if you have an elite gather, your hands should stop pretty darn close to right where I'm telling you to where it stops, and your back elbow will be behind you, and it will stop right in front of your back foot. Okay, this is what elite players do. So if you do the gather and you bump into the post, okay, if you have it too far in front, you're going to miss the poke. If you have it too far back, you're going to end up letting it affect your back elbow. So that's why it's crucial that you put it just about an inch in front of your back foot and maybe an inch to the side of it, okay? So again, this will help you to not hit this pole. And if you do hit it, your brain will tell you, okay, you've gone too far, okay? So the checkpoint will be that your hands should be right in front of your back foot, and you should pretty much see your back elbow right here, okay? Now, if we go here to an elite softball player, okay, watch what's going on right here. As she starts to get into her gather, watch what happens here. As she starts to get into her gather, and her hands are pretty much at the apex of the gather right here, because here's where she starts going forward, okay? Now watch what's going on with her. Now you're going to see that the hands are going to be pretty much right here. And if we go straight down with her, just like we see here with Mike Trout, you're going to see here that the hands will be pretty much directly in front of the back foot, okay? Just like with Mike Trout. This is what elite baseball players do. This is what elite softball players do, okay? And again, you're going to see here, just like with Mike Trout, you're going to see that you're going to be able to see the back elbow, okay? And again, if you put the post, if you put the stick here, that you, whatever you can use, as long as, again, that it's like 1 inch in front of the back foot and maybe 1 inch to the side of it, if your child gets into overload, they're going to bump into that stick, okay? And this should trigger something in their brain saying that they should stop and their body should start moving forward, okay? And you're going to see here with the player on the right that once she reaches this point right here, watch what's going on right here. She's going to walk away from the hands, and her hands are going to go from the front of the foot. Okay, that's why you want the pole right in front of the foot, because if they do hit it, it'll trigger something in their brain that they've gone too far, and the body will start making adjustments. From there, they walk away from the hands, and the hands transfer from the front of the foot as they get into toe touch to right where the shoelaces are, okay? So it goes from the front of the foot, to the shoelaces. Now the hands went from front of the foot to the shoelaces. And again, you can see because of the pullback, watch what's going on right here. Look at the back elbow. Because of the pullback, the back elbow now will start to disappear behind the hands because the hands are now walking away from the hands. She's getting into pullback, and the back elbow works up, back, and behind her. Now, by this time, the hands, they stay there. Okay, they stay there, and they get into a beautiful, beautiful toe touch position here. Now, if you look at Mike Trout, again, he'll do the same thing. Watch as he starts to transfer his weight. The hands pretty much stay there. And you're going to see that with Mike Trout, he has a really big stride right here. Even with that huge stride, you're going to see that his hands are going to pretty much be pretty darn close to where the shoelace is. So right now, you can see here with Mike Trout where his hands are. You can see that his hands right there are pretty much right over the shoelace area right there. Okay. Now, I hope this drill is something that you could use. I've used it with my players, and it really, again, it really triggers the brain. It really does to be able for you to identify when you get into overload, okay? And what happens with a lot of players, and this is what actually happens with a lot of players, and I'll just go ahead and back Mike Trout up so you can kind of get an idea. And I'll just go ahead and put him back here where he started, and I'll go ahead and put this young lady right here, pretty much where she started right here. And basically what happens with a lot of players, once they reach the apex of the gather, if this was Mike Trout doing this, and just say another player that was doing it incorrectly, instead of the hands stopping right here, like I just mentioned, the hands literally go all the way over here, where if you were to draw a line going down, and again, if you record your child, I can almost assure you that there are a lot of them, the majority of players that I've ever done online video analysis with, the hands are way beyond the back foot, therefore making compensations. And again, you can see here with the player on the right, the hands, again, this is just like a visual to give you, instead of the hands stopping right here beautifully, like this young lady's doing right here, the hands would be way over here, okay? And one of the things, just kind of a FYI, part of that is caused because once a player gets into the gather, instead of the torso being pretty vertical, like you see right here with Mike Trout, as they get into the gather, they tend to put their torso going this way, and instead of it being vertical, the torso kind of goes this way. So that brings the hands from here to way over here, therefore getting into overload, creating a domino effect of other problems in your swing. Okay, so anyway, I hope this little drill you could use. I've used it. It really is a great trigger to kind of let your players know that they're getting into overload, that their torso might be leaning back too much, that their arms and their hands are overactive. All right. So I do online video analysis. I assign great drills like this to help students, to help you, to help your child, to help yourself to become an elite player. You can reach me at maximumbatspeed@gmail.com. Feel free to contact me. I'd love to work with your child, like to work with your grandchild. Thank you, everyone, and you guys have a wonderful day, all right?